So just the other day we completed the main Easter egg for the Machine. We found out exactly what's going on as a part of this storyline, but one thing that's different that we didn't get compared to what we usually do was an ending cutscene. It seems this time around the story is being told through in-game scenes and sequences compared to an actual cutscene that we'd usually get at the end that tells us everything we need to know. This time, the story is being told as you progress through the map. And because of this, if you don't usually do Easter eggs for yourself, if you just watch the ending cutscene, or even if you don't pay attention as you're going on through the game, it can be quite difficult to follow along with the story, especially now since we are on a new chapter. So what I want to do today, and what a bunch of you have been asking me, is can you explain the ending for the Machine? So here we go. In order to fully understand the story though, we first need to know how exactly this all started. I've already uploaded all of the full cutscenes and scenes on the channel. If you want to watch all of these storyline scenes with no commentary, then I'll link that down in the description. But here's my explanation of the D-Machine storyline. So we start off where we are playing as a member of Team Requiem, a group that was set up by Weaver in order to stop zombie outbreaks happening around the world. We are sent to Moscow, Poland, and our job is to stop the zombie outbreak happening here and to shut down the dimensional breach based on evidence given to us by Samantha Maxis. When we arrive at the location, we are greeted by several characters who begin talking to us via radio. We hear Dr. Strauss, Carver, Weaver and Dr. Gray. Depending on which playthrough you're going through, you will only hear two characters talking to you at once, so it will either be Weaver and Dr. Strauss or Weaver and Carver, Weaver and Dr. Gray. It won't be all four of those characters talking to you at once, but nevertheless, depending on who's talking to you, they say things along the same lines anyway. The only one I would say who's more important than the other is Dr. Strauss, simply because he used to work here at Nacta and Toten. He used to be a Nazi scientist here. That was until he was employed as head of Requiem Energy Research. But when Team Requiem arrive here, they are told of this facility's past. This was a place where back during World War II, the Nazis conducted multiple experiments. One of the main things they did back here in the 1940s was construct an atom smasher, otherwise known as a particle accelerator. Essentially, its job was to produce beams of charged particles. But while doing an experiment, an accident happened, causing the cyclotron to open up a rift across space-time, allowing the dark ether to spill through. The dark ether and element 115 infected some of the Nazi scientists, turning them into the undead. And it was at this point that Project Endstation, which was the name for the program here, was approved as a part of the Reich atomic program. Two German scientists that worked here, one being Dr. Vogel, who is the director of Project Endstation, and the other being Dr. Kurtz. After seeing what the cyclotron accident had done to their men, causing them to transform into zombies, they set out to find a way to heal them, and to do that, they built a decontamination chamber. This was called Die Wurschler, which in English means the changer. But this was contradictory because Dr. Kurtz and Dr. Vogel weren't trying to change the infected back to humans, they were just trying to restore their minds. And Hitler, who originally approved of Project Endstation as a part of the Reich atomic program, after seeing what they could do, then wanted to weaponize their findings at Endstation. If they could restore the minds of zombies, even just to follow simple commands, they could unleash an undead army. For every German that was killed on the battlefield, they would rise up from the grave and attack again. Another experimental device that was created by the scientists here at Endstation, which was called the Ethoscope, was used by them to record data from the other dimension opened by the cyclotron. Of course, we know the other dimension is the dark ether, and it was capable of uncovering spectral reflections of past events reoccurring outside space-time parameters. The scientists used the Ethoscope in order to record past events from within the dark ether. But unfortunately for them, not long after, in 1945, the Nazis began to lose control of their experiments, where eventually everything went wrong. The Nazis lost the war, and the facility was left forgotten. That was until almost 40 years later, where we are now back in present day in the 1980s, where a Soviet-led research team called the Omega Group rediscover the hidden Nazi base and reactivate the facility. Where the Nazis failed back in 1945, the Soviets thought they could continue their work. We're still not fully sure as to 100% what the Omega Group's motives are behind reactivating the cyclotron, what reasons they have for this, but when the particle accelerator was powered back up by the Soviets, it started to malfunction again, and dark ether anomalies began manifesting around the globe. And this facility D-Machine was the main source. And that brings us straight back up to speed where we were at the beginning of the video, with Requiem team being sent to Nakda and Toten to stop the zombie outbreak happening here and shut down the dimensional breach. The Requiem team enter the bunker and, with the help of Weaver and his associates, come up with a plan to shut everything down. The first thing they do is, using the anomalies occurring around the facility, they travel to the Dark Ether and use the Aetherscope to watch anomalies past spectral reflections from Dr. Vogel back in the 1940s. The crew watch him read his diary as he talks about what's going on in the facility, his men turning into the undead and having to build a decontamination chamber to try and restore their minds. And after learning this, Weaver comes up with a plan, which is to restore brain function to one of the zombies so they can help Requiem team to destroy the particle accelerator. The Requiem team then travel back to the Dark Ether, where they witness another anomaly. They learn of 2 Soviet thieves who stole a decontamination device which was made of gold. But forgetting where they hid it, which was up a tree, Requiem then travel back to reality, where they acquire the decontamination device and then use it to reactivate their Verschler. They then trap a Soviet zombie inside of it, which we know as a Megatron. Well, it was actually a splitter, which is a Megatron split in half. If you've played the game, you'll understand, but they trap 2 splitters inside of the changer and it restores their brain function. The machine puts them back together, where they become a Megaton zombie again, just this time with their brain restored. They can think for themselves again. Think of it as like a person trapped inside a zombie's body. They still have the zombie strength, their zombie flesh, their look, but their brain is restored. They're able to think and talk. And it's revealed to us that this zombie's true identity was a Soviet called Orlov. After realising what he had become, seeing what he had turned into, Orlov then breaks containment, where the lights go out and the Requiem team lose him in the dark. In order to find him again, Weaver suggests we try to lure him out, and so Requiem travel back to the Dark Ether, where they find another anomaly. This time it is of Orlov speaking in the past of something he loves, his family. He reveals in this past event that he was a lieutenant as a part of the Omega Group, where his job was to restart the machine. But he knew by doing this, there was a small chance that he would make it out alive. We see him holding a picture of his family, telling them if he doesn't see them again, he loves them. I think we can guess what happened to him next. He restarted the particle accelerator, not because he wanted to, but because the Omega Group forced him, and that caused him to turn. But now, knowing what to do, Requiem travelled once again back to reality. They give the picture to Orlov, and after him seeing it, after being reminded of the family he had lost because of this, he tells the Requiem team he will help them destroy the machine, close the gateway, and in the end, sacrifice himself to shut the facility down. That's exactly what happens. Orlov destroys the particle accelerator, the cyclotron fails, which then begins to destroy the facility, and just before the facility blows up, the Requiem team escape on a chopper, leaving Orlov, well, dead. He, in a way, caused the anomalies to begin appearing around the world, but not because he wanted to, because the Omega Group forced him to power the machine back up. And that is the story of D-Machine Explained. To put it in simple terms, this was an experiment first started by the Nazis in the 1940s. They created the particle accelerator. They found a way to restore the minds of zombies to turn them back into humans. The Führer wanted to use this, so whenever Germans died on the battlefield, they would be reborn again as the undead. It would double their army, but at the end of 1945, everything came to an end, and for 40 years, the facility was abandoned. That was until the 1980s, where the Soviets rediscovered it. They repowered the particle accelerator back up. This caused anomalies of the Dark Ether to begin appearing around the globe, causing zombie outbreaks, and so the Requiem team was sent to the facility to shut it down. And with the help of Orlov, a Soviet zombie, they used the device here to restore his brain, in which he helped Requiem to destroy the facility. So there we go, and it seems we are now travelling to another location where there's another anomaly, another zombie outbreak. Also, there is so much more to this storyline. There are so many ciphers, Easter eggs, notes, documents, audio logs that we haven't discovered. But in terms of the in-game story, the one that you discover as you do the Easter egg, this is everything explained, so there we go. As always, hopefully you've enjoyed the video. If you have, you know what to do. Drop a like rating. Make sure you are subscribed to stay up to date with the latest videos on the channel. Leave your comments in the comment section below, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Until then, goodbye.
Raptor 1 on the ground, Requiem. Strike team, We gotta go. Let's move it. This is Raptor 1. Strike team on board for extraction. Requiem, Alpha Site just went nuclear. Facility has been destroyed.
Good work, Strike Team. We've closed the breach. But I got a feeling Omega Group is just getting started.